So, Sarah, you've got a brand new single out called Pretender, which you've co-written with Emily Shackleton and Cameron James. It's got this gorgeous, groovy sort of 70s Fleetwood Mac vibe going on. Tell me a bit about the writing and recording of it, would you?
Absolutely. So great to see you.
You too.
Pretender is one of my favorite songs so far on this project. And I really wanted to capture that, what I would call my influences growing up. And I listened to the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac, and I just wanted that feeling of being on the open road. And there's something really cool about the way the song was written and produced that kind of makes you just kind of let go and imagine just being driving down the highway, roll the windows down. Pretender is really kind of a fun, it's a fun song when you really analyze the lyrics, because it's someone who's lived life to know, hey, I've met a few people along the way who have not met what they've said, but I'm doing all right, and I'm moving forward. So it's that's what I love about the song, is it's just a bit empowered and a lot of guitars as well.
Oh, aye, that chorus packs a punch, right?
Yes, it does. There are several several guitars. In fact, I've started playing Telecaster since then, just to match this world that I've created.
Cool. Your previous release, I think that was at the beginning of December, Song Still Gets Me. Now, I love that one in particular. I know it was written again by Emily with Gordy Sampson and Carly Pierce. I love the message of how, like, no matter how much time has passed or how often we tell ourselves maybe we've moved on, you can hear a piece of music and instantly you're back into an old memory of a person or a place. What attracted you to recording that one?
The moment I heard that song, it did exactly what you just said, where it had this nostalgic feeling that, I am the queen of nostalgia, and making I want you to kind of escape to those times in your life. And that song did that for me. And when a song I haven't written does, connects with me, I'm all in, and I'm able to kind of just, envelop it and tell that story. But I was just blown away by what it made me feel of, going back to when I first came to Nashville, and certain songs that, would kind of come rushing back.
There's definitely a sort of cinematic quality to your sound. And I know, you talk about your songwriting at times being very much influenced by immersing yourself within beautiful landscapes. Your music videos, there seems to be a lot of thought goes into those, because they definitely sort of highlight what I'm talking about and sort of even at times maybe add more to it. You seem incredibly comfortable in front of a camera, which is sort of the opposite to me. Is that something that has come naturally, or is it something you've had to work on?
For me, it's been so much fun. Thank you on the compliments and the music videos. I have had so much fun and freedom in getting to write the treatments, and I think that because I've been so a part of the creative side of the music videos, for me, when I get on camera, it's almost like I'm living out this mini movie of the song. And that's the way I always describe it. These songs are so part of me, and almost like children that you get to, create, like, hey, let's rent an old Mustang, and, this is the color scheme I want to wear. So I'm really grateful to my team, because they've just they trust me to just, hey, go be creative. And I think it should be that way for artists, because you're more comfortable if it's you. And I feel like that's shining through at the moment, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it, which is great.
No, that definitely comes across. You introduced us to this new collection of songs with Waves, and that one was written by Rebecca Powell and Joe Hamill. And I've heard you say that that in particular has been a very special song. Can you sort of exaggerate or tell me a bit about why it's so special?
That Waves was the first song that I wrote that I felt like was the start of this project. And it was right when I got back. I had been performing a lot over in the UK in 2019. And I wrote it, it was the week that I got back. I wrote it on my front porch with Joe Hamill and Rebecca Powell. Funny enough, I'm writing with her today, which is
Oh,
kind of like serendipitous. But I just remember thinking, this is so special. And again, that nostalgic feeling of, love and you know, the way that that feels and past love. And so for me, that song just kind of started off the project. And I remember my producer, Cameron James, it was just this really like almost rough work tape. And he's like, I just don't know about this song. And then it ended up being his favorite because of the way it came to life. And I always think this is so beautiful when you're you know, a writer or, you know, artist. Sometimes you can visualize and see it and hear it before it's ever produced. And I just heard that one. I was like, this is going to be so good. And I'm so glad that we were able to kind of make that one the kind of like the anchor of the project.
Yeah, I've noticed there's been a really great reaction to it in Northern Ireland and across the UK in general. These three songs that we're talking about, these are going to be part of an upcoming EP. Is there a release date yet for that?
That is a great question. I have another one coming very soon that I'm really excited about, and I'll just tell you, it's called Hungover. I'm not gonna get in trouble. And you know, this was one that I wrote in California, and there's definitely like this kind of California country vibe happening. I think release date, we're thinking that it could end up being an EP, but I'm writing so much that we might end up making it a whole album. And yeah, but we'll probably end up releasing an EP and then a whole album. Who
It's in,
knows?
yeah, it's interesting because that seems to be more sort of like the trend these days, where people are switching to EPs as opposed to albums. But I think your fan base are different. They like to sort of start at track one and go on that journey all the way to the end.
I love listening to a whole album. I'm a fan of listening to a whole project. And you know, there are songs that I've written since that I haven't recorded. One called Coastin', which was, you know, this really beautiful idea of, you know, during the pandemic of really sort of living in the moment and letting go and kind of coasting along, you know, and it's very relatable to what this time frame I just went through as an artist. And a lot of the songs aren't about love, which is interesting. Like it's this sort of, I think it was, you know, me encouraging myself to, you know, kind of pull myself into this new time. And it's been really fun to pull from new inspiration.
That's interesting that you mentioned this song Coastin' sort of being born or being a result of the pandemic. And listening to the first three songs that you've given us, there seems to be the theme seems to be a real mood of reflection and dwelling on memories and past love. Do you think that very much, because obviously with the pandemic, we were all forced to spend more time than ever with ourselves?
So much with ourselves. I think, you know, the things that I learned the most during the pandemic, especially as a writer, is that I love writing about, you, like you said, you know, those past experiences that make up who you are. And you know, nostalgia queen, you know, over here. But I think it also, like, I love those songs, you know, when I hear Springsteen by Eric Church, it does that for me. And it's one of my favorite songs. And it just makes me think of being, you know, young and, you know, first love. And I think a lot of people love those sort of escapism, you know, going back to when you're young. But, you know, another thing I learned is that the time that I spend and, you know, how I'm spending my time is really important, and connecting with people is, you know, how much I love that. And being able to do that again is such a treat, you know, to see it on the books again, to be able to play is really cool.
Well, to a certain extent, following on from what you've just said there, you know, I enjoy chatting to you because you have this real zest for life and you have this positivity which is infectious. And again, you know, I have heard you say in past interviews with myself and other people that your songwriting tends to be very much inspired by travel and new experience and immersing yourself within the beautiful landscapes. With that being said, I know you sort of dived into the whole live stream thing during lockdown, but in general, you know, as someone who sort of very much seizes the day and is looking forward to what's next, how did you stay positive and creative during lockdown?
That's such a great question. I had friends who were really struggling during the pandemic, and I had moments where, you know, we all did. We were all just, what are we doing? You know, like trying to get our footing. I think I just went into this place that I wanted to be joyful for other people. It was bringing me joy to go live every Sunday and share cover songs and new songs that I was writing, along the way, some of which are on this new EP. A lot of my fans got to hear those born during Campfire Lives. But, I tried to just be joyful in the moment. And I found cooking, I was cooking like a crazy person and just doing anything to keep positive. Because I think at the end of the day, that's all we have is to just be in the moment, joyful. And I totally had a 70s revival during the pandemic too. I don't know where that came from, but I turned into a total hippie, but it's fine.
And you're embarking on a US tour come April time. I mean, that must really be the light at the end of a very long, dark tunnel.
It is. It's called the Coastin' Tour. I felt like that was perfect. I'm playing these really beautiful spaces. They're not, giant spaces, very intimate. So people who come to the shows are going to get, some really cool storytelling aspects. And it's also a giant road trip. You mentioned like the landscapes, and travel for me is such a cool part of what I do. So I'll be, enjoying and kind of taking my fans along that journey as well. Heading from California to all the way to, I'm playing a place called Funk and Waffles in New York. So it's all over the place.
It sounds like it might be the last time we ever hear from you after that gig.
Yeah, you'll have to check on me after Funk and Waffles.
What's very exciting is you're going to be back in the UK in August. You're performing as part of the Long Road Festival. Other artists appearing on this lineup, I mean, Chris Young, the Cadillac Three, Lauren Elena, Sarah Evans, Cassidy Pope. Firstly, you must be very much looking forward to that festival in particular, but I know you came over to the UK in December. You traveled all the way over, and then it was your own decision. You cancelled a few shows due to COVID.
I did. It was so difficult. At that particular time, traveling to the UK was very stressful. And I felt like it wasn't the right time for me to perform and connect with people when everybody was almost had this, anxiety, and everybody's trying to be safe. And I wanted to keep everybody safe. So it was really a decision, thinking of everyone involved. And I would much rather, I'm thinking about Long Road, and I'm so excited because it's summertime in England. I'll get to be with, on this big festival setting, and it feels different now. It feels like things are a kind of resembling normal, but we're just gonna have a good time.
And just very finally, this is something I've kind of always wanted to ask you. As somebody who sort of briefly dipped their toe into the whole TV talent show thing, as somebody who then dealt with, say, the politics of a record label and now releases music independently and has that very clear vision of who they are and what they want to say, and, as full credit to you, has managed to build a fan base globally now. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned along the way, and what advice would you give to aspiring singer-songwriters?
The biggest lesson, there's a couple. I loved that time that I had. It may not, being signed to a record label, in my particular case, everybody has a different story, and that's good to know. Is we all have different stories. I was really young when I signed, and I didn't really even know who I was as an artist. And if I learned anything from that experience, is that love everything that you do. It's going to be out there, and embrace it, learn from it. But also that experience allowed me to know what I love and what I don't love. And you don't need, the only one who knows who you are is you. And those decisions in your heart. And I have an amazing team that will rein me in when I need, when my ideas are too crazy right now. But I think that's what I learned the most is, finding that unique thing that makes you, and, don't copy the next big thing, because there's already that person, and I think, being signed was sort of this beginning development of who I am today, actually. So I'm really grateful for it, because it kind of took me into this like overdrive of, I'm going to go figure it out.
That's very interesting. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I love your music. In fact, I love playing it on the radio and hopefully turning the listeners on to you. But you're one of the few artists that, in my own free time, I will put on. I mean, I love your Dream Country album, but like when you do this like 6, 7 days a week, at times in your free time, the last thing you want to do is listen to country music. But you're one of the few that I will, because you just chill me out, your voice.
Oh, I love that. You just made my day. My day is made. Thank you so much. That's so kind. Well, I'll send you some songs. I'll
Please
let you
do.
listen to. Yes.
Please do. And just, can I just squeeze in one final one? Was when you're over for the Long Road Festival, are you just coming to play that, or are you even just toying with the idea of maybe adding a few more dates around that?
We are looking into adding some more dates around it. So I think if I'm coming over, I'd love to play a couple shows, especially with being able to, replace those Christmas shows I had to cancel. I'd love to spread the net out and get to see some people.